For the James Webb Space Telescope, it was a long journey to the launching pad. Hi there, everyone. It's Jeff, and this is Plain English, where we help you upgrade your English with current events and trending topics. JR is the producer, and he has uploaded the lesson transcripts and all other resources to plainenglish.com/493. 493, because we've got our 500th lesson coming up, and we are going to have a bit of a celebration for episode number 500. But it's only going to be a success if you are involved. And the place you can get involved is plainenglish.com/500, 500. So when you're done with today's lesson, go to plainenglish.com/500 to be a part of the festivities. Coming up today, it was years late and billions, and I mean billions of dollars over budget. It was almost canceled. The James Webb Space Telescope had a wild ride even before it took off. In the second half of the lesson, I'll show you what it means to have a crack at something. Ready? Let's dive in. An Ariane rocket blasted off from the Kourou spaceport in French Guiana on Christmas morning 2021. That was the beginning of the James Webb Space Telescope's million-mile journey into space. It was a moment that very nearly didn't happen. To understand, let's go back in history a bit. The Hubble telescope launched in 1990. It was late and way over budget, but it proved to be invaluable for humanity's understanding of the universe. It showed that all galaxies have a black hole at their center, that the universe's expansion is accelerating, and it provided a close-up view of a comet crashing into Jupiter. Just as the Hubble was at its height of success, NASA, America's space agency, proposed a follow-up telescope. Only this one would be bigger and would capture images in infrared light. Such a telescope, bigger, in a better location in space, and with infrared capabilities, this telescope would be able to build on the extraordinary findings of the Hubble. Riding the scientific high of the Hubble, the U.S. Congress said yes to NASA's proposal in 2002. The budget was $2.5 billion, and it would launch in 2010. Fast forward 9 years to 2011, and it was still not done. The new launch date was to be 2018, 8 years late. Oh, and the budget was $8.8 billion, over 3 times the original budget. That was a problem because the more money that went into the delayed telescope, the less money would be available for other space-related priorities. And given how complex the project was, there was still no guarantee that it would ever work. The U.S. House of Representatives gets the first crack at passing the spending bills that fund the government. And in 2011, the House cut $1.9 billion from NASA's budget, the money intended for Webb. The Senate, the other half of our Congress, restored the funding before the final budget passed. But NASA was put on warning. Congress's patience and budget was not unlimited. Fast forward again to 2018, the supposed launch date. The telescope wasn't done. In fact, the project was in disarray. Over 10,000 people were working on it. The budget was now $10 billion, 4 times the original. And there was no end in sight. For every problem that was solved, another appeared. Conflict arose between NASA and the contractors building the telescope. People on the team weren't communicating. An editorial in the scientific journal Nature said, "No one should ever build a telescope in the way NASA built Webb." Still, the prize was so valuable. So much had been invested, and NASA had to do something. So NASA decided the project needed a new director. Gregory Robinson, a NASA veteran, transferred from another project to be the director of the Webb telescope. That proved to be a turning point. Slowly but surely, the project started to hit its milestones. Robinson's supervisor at NASA called him the most effective leader of a mission I have ever seen. And as we all know, the telescope launched successfully in late 2021. The big test, though, was not in the launch, but in the first few weeks of the mission. The telescope had over 300 single-point failures. That means that if any one of those 300 things had gone wrong, the whole telescope would have been doomed. But none went wrong. The telescope launched successfully. It then performed some acrobatics. It had to unfold and assemble itself in space since it was too bulky to lift off in its final state. All that worked, and, as you heard last week, the first images came back to Earth. Still, there was a little initial damage. The telescope's mirror has 18 gold-plated segments. One segment was damaged by a micrometeoroid. That's a fragment of a meteor that could be as small as a grain of sand. Micrometeoroids were expected but this damage came early. NASA said it can't repair the mirror, but it can make adjustments to partially correct for the damage. Here are a couple of interesting things I discovered when researching these two lessons. First, any astronomer, any person in the world can use the telescope if their application is accepted. So astronomers apply to the Space Telescope Science Institute, and the Institute reviews all applications without knowing who's applying. They decide who gets time on the telescope based on how valuable their inquiry is, on the merits of the proposal only, not on the reputation of the astronomer, not the prestige of the university, not the country, nothing. The decisions are made without knowing who the applicant is. And I saw in one article that an astronomy student got approval to use the telescope, which is cool. The other thing I found out is what scientists get when they get time on the telescope. So the telescope can work not 24/7, but for a certain number of hours in the year. So the scientists who apply and who are approved get time on the telescope. But I didn't know what that exactly meant. So I asked the question on Quora. I'll put the link to the question in the transcript. A few astronomers replied, and here's what they said. With a complicated telescope, the astronomer tells the agency what to observe. And obviously, this part is far more complicated than I'll ever understand. But basically, the astronomer's proposal says what they want to see, what sensors need to be used, what data needs to be gathered. And the operators of the telescope point the mirrors and configure the telescope to get the images and the data that the astronomers want. And they arrange the projects such that projects with similar specifications are done together. And then the astronomers can download the data at a particular point and analyze it afterward without going anywhere, without ever leaving their lab or office. Today's expression is a crack at. To have a crack at, to get a crack at something, is to have the opportunity to achieve a goal or solve a problem. Imagine you're in the kitchen and you're cooking up a great meal. You need to open a jar, but your hands aren't dry and you can't get the jar open. How embarrassing. You can ask someone else, can you take a crack at getting this jar open? You can ask someone else, can you try to achieve the goal? Can you try to open it up? Have you ever had a crack at a piñata? A piñata is a decorated figure of an animal or something. It's popular in Mexico. It's made of paper mache, and there are toys and candy inside. You hang it from a tree, and the children, or adults, swing a broomstick or something and try to break it. When it breaks, the toys and candy fall to the ground and everyone rushes in to get some. Usually, it goes like this. The first person to take a crack at the piñata swings really hard and doesn't break it. After 1 or 2 attempts, someone else gets a crack at it. Someone else gets the opportunity to solve the problem, or, in this case, to break open the piñata. After everyone at the party has a crack at the piñata, if it's still intact, then the first person can take another crack at it, and so on. Take another crack at it means to try to do it a second time. And I was so proud of myself, I recorded my first ever video on this computer. And then I listened to the audio. There was this ever-present humming in the background. JR could edit it out of this video, but this was a problem I needed to solve. So I took a crack at figuring out the solution. I tried to figure out what was causing the background noise. No luck. I was out of ideas and really frustrated. But I went to bed and took another crack at it the next day. I tried again to solve the problem, and on my second attempt, I figured it out. In today's lesson, we were talking about the time the James Webb Space Telescope almost got canceled. It was late and over budget. I said that the U.S. House of Representatives gets the first crack at the annual budget bills. And in 2011, the House's version of the budget cut funding from the Webb telescope. So what do I mean? The House of Representatives gets the first crack at the budget. Well, under our Constitution, all spending bills must originate in the House of Representatives. They must pass both houses of Congress and be signed by the President. However, they start with the House of Representatives. So that means the House of Representatives gets the first crack at writing the budget. They get the first attempt at achieving the goal. The final version will be different, but the House of Representatives gets the first crack at it. They get the first attempt. Time for the song of the week. Today it's Santa Monica by Everclear. Santa Monica is a small city in California, west of downtown Los Angeles, bordering the Pacific Ocean. If you've been to LA, you've probably been on Santa Monica Boulevard, which goes through Hollywood, Beverly Hills, and ends in downtown Santa Monica on the beach. Anyway, the song was written by the lead singer, Art Alexakis, and he grew up in Santa Monica, and he used images from his town, the palm trees, the breakers, the coast, and he used those images as a safe haven, he said, to escape bad times that you might have elsewhere. Familiar images of home can be comforting if you're a long way away and are having a bad experience, he said. Well, that does it for today's Plain English. 493 today was, and that means we are getting closer and closer to number 500. Now, just as a reminder, our 500th lesson celebration is coming right up. We are going to be doing a live video stream of lesson number 500, and we'll be doing it on Saturday, September 3rd. It will be on Facebook and Instagram. I have never live streamed anything before, but I'll take a crack at it. We'll do a practice run a week or two before, but the live stream of the 500th lesson will be on September 3rd. It will be at 8 o'clock in the morning here in Chicago, 10 a.m. in Brazil. That is afternoon in Europe and Saturday evening in Asia. So everyone has a chance to be a part of it. Now, your job right now is to go to plainenglish.com/500, 500, to get ready for the celebration. There will be prizes, giveaways, the live stream, obviously, and the chance to be a part of the 500th episode video that we are making. It's going to be so much fun, and I can't wait to include you all in the celebration. So remember, plainenglish.com/500 right now. We'll be back again on Monday. See you then.